Today I have the privilege of playing one of the most underrated golf courses on the planet. We are at Half Moon Bay Golf Links, and today we're going to be playing the old course at Half Moon Bay Golf Links. They do have two golf courses, and my next video will actually be at the other golf course, the Ocean Course. So Half Moon Bay is located just south of San Francisco, and I know that, of course, the golf courses are great, but they have much more than just the golf courses. Half Moon Bay is home to some of the largest waves on the planet. Mavericks is located right here in Half Moon Bay, and they actually get some waves that are over 60 feet tall. So in my personal opinion, I would always recommend Half Moon Bay and just the city of Half Moon Bay in general over most of the other cities within the Bay Area. Half Moon Bay is just a magical spot, and it's just about 45 minutes north of Santa Cruz, so wherever you are on the coast, I highly recommend getting to Half Moon Bay and playing this golf course, which is located right here at the Ritz Carlton. So getting right into the golf here, hole number 1 is a dogleg left uphill par 5, and you really don't want to hit this tee shot much more than about 240 or 250, so I just hit an iron out here into the middle. However, unfortunately I pushed this one a little bit to the right. Now, I know you're going to notice here that my camera is a little bit dark, and unfortunately for these first few holes, it is going to be a little bit dark here watching me play golf, but that's really because I'm playing before the sun has even really come up, so the camera is actually making it a little bit lighter than it actually is in person. Luckily, I've played this course quite a few times, in fact, hundreds of times, so I know the place really well, I know where I'm supposed to be going, and really, this honestly is one of the most peaceful rounds of golf I've ever played in my life. If there was one that might have been a little bit more enjoyable, I would actually say it was my other round of golf at Half Moon Bay on the Ocean Course, which you're going to see in the following video here in the next few days. So the golf course is actually in some of the best shape I've ever seen it, and you're going to notice just even on this putt how quick these greens really were. They run very true, but they're also pretty darn quick, so be careful being above the hill. Hole number 2 is a straightaway par 4, and really it's bombs away off the tee. You do have to be careful, both left and right. You can go out of bounds into the houses, but you do have quite a bit of room on either side. So I usually just try to hit a cut just to the right of the bunkers that you'll see out there in the fairway. This one I just pulled a little bit too far left, so it didn't have enough cut on it, so I'm over in the trees left, but it is still decently playable over there for me. Almost a chip-in birdie there on number 2 for my birdie, but settled for a little tap-in par. Now, hole number 3 is a very long par 3 from the tip, so this can be a pretty tough hole. If you play the whites or the blues, it's a much easier hole, and I would just recommend, if you're back here all the way at the black tees, I would favor that cut just to keep the water out of play. Sometimes it can be tough to get your ball all the way up to the green here, so I hit a 3-iron, which I'm also accounting for it's a little bit chilly this morning, and you're down here right at sea level, so it's not going to go quite as far. I did hit this pretty well, though, so it made it all the way to the back part of the green. Hole number 4 is a dogleg right, par 4, and you really should not hit a driver on this tee box. I usually try to hit this about 240 yards, yet for some reason this round I kind of forgot exactly how far I should hit this, so I only hit a 5-iron, which at sea level is really about a 205 club for me. So I'm still right in the middle of the fairway, didn't hit it as far as I wanted, but right in the middle, and I can see where I need to go fine from here. The biggest issue with this hole is if you do carry through the fairway, you can be in a lot of trouble if you go a little bit too far. Now, if you remember, the night before this, I actually played at TPC Harding Park. That was the video previously, and I only hit 2 out of 14 fairways, so I was getting a little bit tired, and then I went to the Golden State Warriors game right after that round.
It's crazy.
So not a whole lot of sleep whatsoever before this round of golf, but I played 2 rounds the day before, including the Ocean course, which I actually played the day before this video that you're seeing here, but then Harding Park and then the Warriors game. So it's been a long couple days, but honestly, this was still one of my favorite rounds of the entire trip. Just, again, so peaceful, and it's kind of nice having nobody else around out here. Hole number 5, there's a pretty crazy story associated with hole number 5. First off, it's a dogleg left par 5, and I would recommend going right over the bunkers that you see off the tee box. It is a pretty good bailout to the right, but make sure you don't go very far left of those bunkers, otherwise you could be out of bounds. Now, the crazy story about this hole is that this is actually the location of my one and only double eagle. So I was actually playing with some of the management of this golf course. Boy, it's probably been 8 to 10 years since now, but I was about 100 yards ahead of where I was here on my drive, and I had an 8-iron in, and it went right in the hole. So we were playing a match, ended up actually losing that match somehow, even though I had a double eagle. But that was the story of hole number 5 at Half Moon Bay Golf Links, my one double eagle of my entire life. Now, be careful of the water just right of the green. If the course wasn't a little bit wet right now, I probably would have rolled into the water, but I got a little lucky here staying on the bank. And this chip shot is actually exactly where I wanted to hit the chip shot, but it caught the collar just on the edge of the green and shot over to the back, so kind of a little bit of an unlucky break there. Hole number 6 is a dogleg left par 4, and this is a really important tee shot. So I only hit a 6-iron here, and really I could have hit it probably even a 4-iron. Not sure why I took so little club, but you really just want to put this just right of that bunker that you see off the tee box, and you can hit this, I would say, at least 225 if you really want to, and you should be pretty safe. So don't hit a driver off this tee. I have actually tried to go for the green, and I've done it a couple times in scrambles, but you're going over a whole bunch of houses if you're trying to hit a driver to the green on this hole. So either way, it's a pretty difficult hole, especially for the front 9. It's one of the more difficult holes, and it's a very large green. And as you can see, my shot coming in right in the sunshine there, I just hit the left corner of this green. So I've got a long putt, and you'll notice that this putt bounces quite a bit, and that's not the greens. It's actually because I'm struggling on my putting stroke like always, and I'm actually kind of lofting some of these longer putts up in the air a little bit. So greens are running perfect. That was really just not a great stroke on my part. The 7th hole is usually a little bit more difficult than it looks. This always plays a little bit uphill, and it's actually angled directly at the Pacific Ocean, so if there's any wind, you're usually going to not feel it so much from the tee box, but it will knock your ball down, so I always recommend taking a little bit extra club.
What the hell was that?
What was that? That was nearly a shank. Luckily, I caught a little bit of the club face, and I actually got almost all the way up to pin high, but that was very close to being a full shank to the right. Luckily, this chip nearly went in, so kind of made up for a really poor tee shot. The 8th hole for me is one of my easier holes on the course because I can usually hit it a little bit further. Now, you do want to just go right over the bunkers if you can carry this about 275. If you can't carry it at least 275, then you just need to stay out to the right of the bunkers. And really then you're just going to have a pretty simple downhill shot. I would just recommend taking one club less on your second shot in because as you're going to see here on my approach shot, I had a really good look into it, but I just should have probably hit a little bit less club instead of flying it past the pin like I did here. Now this par putt here looks like it might not be too tough, but this is actually one of the more difficult putts on the entire course. It's very downhill and it's breaking right to left actually quite a bit, so I'm lucky that I made that putt because that could be an easy bogey. The 9th hole is a lot like the 8th hole off the tee box for me because I just take it over that bunker left. With that said, again, if you're not going to be able to carry this at least 275, then you really need to be just punching it out to the right of that bunker. You don't even have to hit a driver if you don't want to. But I hit this drive just about as good as I hit any other drive all day today, and it just left myself pretty much just a little chip here. Now from anywhere else on this fairway, I would tell you to play again one less club, but if there's wind, be careful because this is also right at the ocean, so it's usually going to knock your ball down a little bit more than you'd think. And this really was not my best wedge shot of the day at all. I kind of pushed it out to the right, but still gave myself a good look for the birdie. Alright, finished the front 9 with a birdie, not too bad. So 1 under par, 8 pars, 1 birdie on the front 9. So 3 for 3 scrambling, hit 4 out of 7 fairways, which is double the amount that I hit at TPC Harding Park, so that's good news. Now, the 10th hole is kind of confusing when you walk up to it. We do have the tees up a little bit today from where I'm teeing off, so you're going to notice my target here. I do not recommend you taking this line whatsoever. I would recommend you taking it at the bunker out in the middle of the fairway and just hitting a cut off of that. Now, you're probably watching this drive thinking he's going to be in the houses, but surprisingly enough, this is actually a perfect drive on this hole if you can carry it a long ways. So that was a really good iron shot in here, and for my eagle putt, actually one of the workers at the golf course who is actually a family member of mine now, he came out here to say hi to me, and really, I gotta say at this golf course, they really do have some of the best customer service from any golf course that I've ever played at, even if you compare it to some of the courses down near Pebble Beach. These guys are some of the most friendly people that you'll ever work with within the golf industry. The 11th hole is a very tricky hole. You got to get your ball in the fairway. Now, you got to be careful. Don't go left because it'll roll down the hill to the water on the left. And if you go right, you're going to either be in the trees or in the houses out of bounds. So the tee shot is very important, but also the green slopes significantly back to front, and it's usually more of a slope than you realize. Now, I tried to hit my cut off of here right into the middle, but I just overdid it. and I actually had to end up hitting a provisional off this tee box, but I did end up finding it over here in the trees, so I was able to play my original drive. Now, you'll notice here that I decided to take a 5-iron and try to punch it through a small gap, and did not have a whole lot of success. Hit a whole bunch of trees and then ended up just a little ways further up here in the trees. Now, this was actually one of my better shots of the day. I know it doesn't end up as good as you would think one of my best shots does, but this was actually a really good hook right around the tree, and it actually went right past the pin, just rolled straight over the green. The 12th hole is another just big drive hole. Really, you just got to avoid the right or, of course, a big hook. You don't want to hit a big hook on this hole, but if you can keep it straight, you can really pump a drive right down the middle here, like I did. And again, on this second shot, I would just recommend you take one extra club, even just half an extra club. It does play a little bit up the hill. Now, this pin location is actually pretty tricky. If I were to hit this putt very far beyond this pin location here, I would actually roll all the way back down to the front of the green. It's a very severe slope from that pin location down to that front corner, so I got a little hesitant on that putt, and you'll notice even on this putt here, I almost miss it because it starts breaking down to the front right of the green right there. Hole number 13 is not my favorite hole on the course, and not because it's not a great hole, it's an awesome hole, but it's because I usually end up going in the water, it seems like you're about to see right now. Sure enough, almost another shank. That was almost my second near shank of the day. I think that was actually with the exact same club that I used on number 7 when I did it. So now I have to go to the drop zone, and again, this hole you just got to avoid left, right, so I just recommend hit whatever shot you're confident in that you can keep it straight, because if you can hit the green here, it's a pretty simple par, if not a birdie, but that tee shot is one of the most difficult tee shots on this course. So have to settle for a double bogey here on the 13th hole. I was 2 under a few holes ago, and now I'm all the way back up to +1. The 14th hole is a par 4 dogleg right, and you can hit a driver off this tee from the back tees. I would be careful if you're playing the whites or the blues up a little bit further ahead, but from the back tees you can easily hit this a good 285 plus. And the more you cut it, the further you can hit it, but if you cut it too much, you might catch a couple trees and even bounce over into the houses. So I hit a really good drive here, and this was not a terrible contact with my wedge, but I really just didn't turn it over at all, so it just stayed out to the right, did not turn over to the left like I was planning on it. The 15th hole is, in my opinion, one of the best par 5s in the state of California. You've got water all the way down the left side of the hole, and I try to just bomb it over the water for the most part on this tee shot, so you'll see me here just kind of trying to put a little extra into this drive. And sure enough, I was able to turn it over a little bit as well, so this was a really good drive for me. It did go just slightly through the fairway, but that's totally fine because I actually have a chance now to hit the green in 2, and usually this is not a 2-shot hole. Usually you want to play this as a 3-shot hole, so don't be afraid to just bail out right off of the tee box there and just play it as 3 shots. Now there is a good bailout area just to the right of the screen, which is kind of what I'm going for. I came up just a little bit short of that. Didn't quite make perfect contact on that swing there, but now I just have a little bit of a chip and a putt for a hopeful birdie. Number 16 is, in my opinion, the most difficult hole on this golf course, and really probably the most difficult hole on either of the golf courses at Half Moon Bay. All 4 shots are going to be very difficult. This tee shot, I like to take it over the trees with a big cut to let it cut back into the fairway. This was not bad for me, but I did not cut it quite enough, so I'm still going to end up in the trees, but luckily I made it all the way to the end of them here, so I still do have a little bit of a shot in. Now, you're going to notice a big barranca here just short of the green, and you can play it out of there. There's usually not any water down in there, so you can play it, but it's usually a better decision to just take your drop short of that barranca if you do go in it, because you can usually take 3 or 4 shots just trying to get out of that barranca down there. Now, you'll notice on this shot in that I use the slope behind this green. This green slopes significantly back to front, and when I say significantly, it's actually pretty extreme back to front sloping. So you can use the hill behind the green to take it down. I only needed a few more feet of rollout here, and this could actually ended up really close to the hole. But now I've got this putt from just over the green, and this is an extremely downhill putt, so be careful. It never really looks like it's too fast, but these putts from behind the flag on number 16 are always extremely quick. The 17th hole is the first hole that you walk up and you see the ocean. So you'll actually be able to see part of the 18th hole from this tee box, and then once you get up to the green, it's a really great view that you'll see up here. But this is another hole that I'm just going to recommend take an extra club. If there's wind, you might have to have an extra 2 clubs because that wind will blow this ball and knock it down really quickly. So take a little bit extra club. Should be a pretty straightforward part 3 for most people if they just choose the right club. Now I'm going to talk as little as possible here for the 18th hole. This hole pretty much speaks for itself. In my opinion, one of the best finishing holes on planet Earth. So I usually just try to hit that tee shot about 225 to 230 at the most, and it will play downhill, so be careful hitting it too far. You will usually have a pretty long iron into this green, and it will play uphill, so add a little bit extra club. But that bunker over the green is about the worst place you can possibly be. That is an extremely difficult chip shot from that bunker. And as you can tell, right is not ideal. If you go right, you will be in the Pacific Ocean. really hard to look back at this hole and think that this is not one of the best finishing holes in the world. Not only in the country, not only in California, really in the world. This is one of the best finishing holes. I put this right up against Pebble Beach. In fact, in many ways, I actually think this is a better all-around hole than the 18th at Pebble Beach. So that is my round at Half Moon Bay Golf Links on the old course. Next video, you're going to be seeing the Ocean course. And you can see here the Ritz Carlton behind. You don't have to stay at the Ritz Carlton to play this golf course, but of course, if you can, then it's a really, really nice place to stay, and you're not going to find much better service than anywhere else. Even par on my round today, 6 out of 14 fairways, which isn't great, but better than Harding Park, that's for sure. And now, after my even par round today, I'm still 6 over par, 10 over on the par 3s after another double bogey today, but the par 5s are helping me out a little bit better.